This is Charlie Rose.
Mickey Rourke is here. In the 1980s, he was one of our most sought-after actors. He showed early promise in gripping and raw performances in films like Body Heat, Diner, Rumblefish, and, of course, 9½ Weeks. Here's a look at Mickey Rourke over the years.
Even after the meltdown, they're gonna know it's arson.
I don't care about that. That's all there is to it?
No, that ain't all there is to it. You gotta get in, you gotta get out. You gotta pick the right spot, the right time. And you gotta try not to get famous while you're in the act.
What? You know, I never did a lot of screwing around. Some, you know, of course. Little. Little? Little.
You're a virgin, aren't you?
Technically.
And you got a lot to learn. See, when you were 2 years old and I was 6, your mother decided to leave. You know, she took me with her. When the old man found out, he went on a 3-day drunk. He told me it was the first time he ever got drunk.
What do you need a fancy suit for, Charlie? You got no job to wear it to, man.
What did you say?
Come on.
Huh? Say that again. Say it again. Say it again. Say what you just said again. About my suit. Say, what do I don't need? Tell me what I don't need.
What do you need a fancy suit for, Charlie? You got no job to wear it to.
That's right. Why?
Here's your button. Come on, man.
You work and you work and you work. And you meet with people that you don't like, that you don't even know, that you don't even want to know. And they try to sell you things. You try to sell them things. Then you go home at night, listen to the wife nag. You turn up the TV, you tune everything out. You get up the next day and you start all over again.
In the 1990s, he fell out of favor with Hollywood after a string of disappointing films, and then he started boxing. He is now back in movies with a vengeance. He stars as Randy the Ram Robinson, an aging wrestler, in the film The Wrestler. His work in The Wrestler has been called iconic, magnetic, and the performance of a lifetime. Here is a look at The Wrestler.
Great to meet you.
1, 2, rail!
Really good. You really brought it.
Thank you, thank you.
You hang in there. You got a lot of ability.
Have you ever seen a one-trick pony and feel so happy and free? If you ever
Well, I was wondering if I could get some more work.
All I got is weekends. Isn't that when you sit on other dudes' faces?
Have you ever seen a one-legged dog?
Have a beer with me?
One
beer.
If you've ever seen
You have a daughter?
Oh, my daughter, she don't like me very much.
You should call her.
And you seen me.
What do you want from me?
I'm an old, broken-down piece of meat, and I deserve to be all alone. I just don't want you to hate me.
And you seen me, but I
2 words. Rematch.
Bring it. You know, with a little luck, this could be my ticket back on top.
Tell me, friend, can you ask for anything?
80s man, best ever.
Guns N' Roses.
Crew.
Yeah, then that Cobain had to come around and ruin it all.
90s sucked.
90s sucked.
These things that have comforted me, I drive away. My only faith's in the broken bones and bruises I display.
You know, the only place I get hurt is out there.
I'm really here.
In this life, you can lose everything you love, everything that loves you. A lot of people told me that I'd never wrestle again. The only one who's going to tell me when I'm through doing my thing is you people here. Now, what do you think? What do you think about this? Eh?
That'll work.
Come here.
I am pleased to have Mickey Rourke at this table for the first time.
It's nice to be here.
Great to have you here.
Yeah.
Did you think that this day would never come in which you would have an opportunity to show what you can do again?
Again. You know, that's an interesting question because it was like, I think after, you know, when I left to go back to the boxing, when I kind of got disillusioned with myself, with the acting for crazy reasons, really. Had nothing to do with the acting. It had more to do with issues that I had. And I didn't know I was going to go away for 5.5 years, but I fell in love with the boxing again. And it was unfinished business with me, really. I thought I was just going to have one fight, get out of my system. And I thought, you know what? I got one life. Before I become a geriatric, I just want to do it one more time all the way because I've always really preferred sports, you know. And I think after when I came back, when they told me I couldn't fight anymore, I failed a couple neurologicals, and they just put it to me like, you know, if you're here and you go to the left, there's no coming back, you know. So I said, okay, then I'm out. I'll stop.
One more blow, it might be too
much.
But
I kept asking for one more fight, but I needed 3 more to get to where I needed to get. And I think I thought maybe in a year or 2 I'd get a shot. Maybe I'd, you know, they'd let me back in the door, and then 6 years went by, 7, 8, 9, 10. After about the 10th year went by and I couldn't get in the door, I was talking to this therapist I started seeing for the last 13 years, try to fix things. And he explained to me that you're in a hopeless situation, but we have hope. That still sounded hopeless at the time, you know, as the years went by.
But it's better than we're in a hopeless situation, period.
Period. No, that's the thing. It's, you know, and it's like, you know, he said to me, I mean, yeah, because, you know, I was in L.A. where I was trying to resurrect my career for the last 14 years, and I never really cared for that city. I always felt comfortable back home in Miami or here in New York, where I felt better, but I had to be there to sort of keep resurrecting what I messed up all by myself. And I think after more than 7, 8 years went by, I started to question if it would ever happen again. I was getting older. My reputation, it wasn't just because I went back to the boxing. I didn't handle myself in a very professional way. I didn't have the tools to understand after I got out of the actor's studio that it's a business and there's politics involved. I thought it was all about what was going on at the actor's studio with Strasberg and the method and wanting to be an actor like Pacino and De Niro and Chris Walken. And I didn't have any information about the other end of it, the business end. And that sort of, because I really wasn't educated to understand that, it short-circuited me when I saw things in it that I said, that's not very pure. So I had a very naive outlook on it.
So then you went into boxing, and then you decided to come back. And yes. How did it happen that you got this chance for this role that some people even see a bit of parallel in your own life?
How it happened was I was very fortunate. About 7 years ago, I was agentless, and I was living in this dump. And I remember I had a Mini Cooper I brought back.
Yes.
I had brought back from London, and I mean, you could spit in a Mini Cooper, and it'll take you around the block for a week. And,
yes, that's true.
And I
have one. Yes.
Yeah, and it was in 1963 before they came back again, right. And I couldn't put gas in it, and I couldn't pay my rent, so I had to sell it, and it really. So it was like.
This is way after you sold all the Harleys.
Yeah, well, I still had one left because I went through a dozen Harleys over a 11, 12-year period to get by, really, because I had some really nice Harleys, and I sold them for a third of what I put into them. And this casting woman who lived next door to me asked me if I had an agent, and I said no. And she said, well, there's this one guy that would like to talk to you. And we set up a meeting, and he came. He was with a really great agency, ICM. And
Right.
he was a pretty young man at the time, 7 years ago, and he was in his 30s, early 30s, and he went on about, he knew everything about me, and he had his grandfather was a big producer over in England back in the day, did the Guns of Navarone and all those older movies. So he was very educated and a very love for the profession. And he said, listen, I want to try to bring you back. And he says, but this is what I need from you. And he told me what he needed.
What did he say?
I need you to cut your hair. I need you to start I need you to stop lifting weights, because weights, after the boxing, the weightlifting was very therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
And you don't need to be 215 pounds. We need you to get down to about 185 or whatever. And you don't need to walk around in tank tops. I think I had two.
And why were you doing this? Just because?
Well, I wasn't working. I mean, so I would go everywhere and sweat. I loved all the guys, the bodybuilders down in Gold's and Venice, and I go down there for 14, 15 years and pump iron, and it relaxed me. It really did. And so I lived in hoodies and tank tops and sweatpants, and there'd be photographs taken of me, and it would say he doesn't look very well the way he's dressed. But I lived, California or Miami. You can get away with, I lived in the gyms, and I've always felt comfortable in the gyms.
So it says, I want you to lose some weight. Stop weightlifting.
Stop weightlifting.
Get back to 190, say.
80-something, yes, what he would prefer. He says,
cut your hair.
The whole thing with the neck being too, and the traps coming out of my ears, which I had lost now. I used to sit there and do these things to get the traps. It was, my buddies were, Lyle Alzado,
right.
and the old school guys at Gold's, when Gold's was Gold's, back in the.
Before Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, during that, after, really kind of like after him, during Dorian Yates's period, and I enjoyed going there, and I didn't have very many actor friends. I mean, early on I was very close with Sean, and then Sean was working a lot. I didn't see him, so my friends were bodybuilders, bikers, and tattoo artists.
So here comes a guy who says, "I want to resurrect your career."
Right. Yeah,
and this is music to your ears.
Yeah, especially because I was with one agency, which is a very good agency, and I screwed that up when I was younger. And then I went to I did a movie. Sylvester Stallone was kind enough. I was sitting in a really nice restaurant, Italian restaurant. It was sort of like a place people went. And I thought I wanted to feel good about myself and go in there and eat. And I could barely pay for the bowl of spaghetti I was eating. And I'm sitting there having my pasta alone. And I felt somebody looking at me or standing above me, and I looked over, and it was Sly Stallone.
Right.
And I went, "Oh, hey, hey, how you doing?" I said, "I'm good."
Yes, you know.
He says, I like to do a bad invitation.
Well, let's do it.
He says, "Hey, you want to go to work?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to go to work for the last 11 years." He says, I'm
breathing, aren't I?
Yeah, I'm doing this thing, and I need somebody who looks like they can kick my ass. And I said, "No problem, give me the work." And he went to bat for me, and then the producer called back, who was someone I didn't care for very much, and offered me like really an insulting amount of money, and I said no. Right. So then 10 minutes later, he called me back, and he says, "Did they offer you an insulting amount of money?" And I said, "Yeah, but thank you anyway. I'm just slide. Don't worry about it." He says, "Would you do it for such and such amount of money?" And I said, "Absolutely." Called me back 2 minutes later, and he says, "You're in."
Yeah.
I get up to Canada, where we're shooting Get Carter, and one of his assistants, I think it was a bodyguard or a training partner of his, pulled me aside and said, "Sly, I don't want you to know this, but so-and-so wouldn't pay you the money." And he says, Sly took it out of his own pocket, and it was like, oh, man. So, a lot, during that period of time, I would get a day's work here, 2 weeks work here. Sly gave me, I think 9 days in that, and then Sean gave me a day in the Pledge, right, which was a really, really great written scene. Was
this with Nicholson? Or?
Yeah. And So it was, then Rodriguez would come to bat.
So you're beginning to build.
Beginning to build, but it was not, it was also, it was the fact that it wasn't like my behavior in the 80s, which I was not professional. I was not accountable. I was not responsible. I was late. I had a chip on my shoulder and with authority, which went back to a long time ago, and I had good reasons to have it. And then through the therapy, I understood why I had gotten so hard and unaccountable. And it had to do with old issues of shame and abandonment and feeling small and insignificant. And instead, I put this armor on of hard, and I got hard, both physically and mentally. And
you put it on to deal with the issues, and then you became that. And
I became that. And when you know, I've said this a million times. I get tired of hearing myself say it. But when the wife leaves, the house is gone, and the movies are gone, and you're going, oh, I got to move somewhere, and it's like, and you are alone. I remember passing a mirror in this place that I was living when I was all alone, and I looked in the mirror, and it was the first time that I saw just physically and what was in my face and in my head what maybe may have frightened or so what I turned into, and I didn't realize that I'd gotten.
You saw yourself as others were seeing you.
Yeah, I saw something that scared me.
Yeah. So Aronofsky calls up, or an agent calls up, and they say, what? I mean, how does The Wrestler happen?
How it happened was, okay, the process of working with the guys who were giving me a break, from Rodriguez to Stallone to Sean Penn to Tony Scott.
Right.
And it was the fact that I had behaved myself, I was accountable on time, which was only due to the hard work I put in with the therapy.
So the word begins to spread that
the word began to spread. Because
that he's not like you think he is.
Right. He's changed.
Right. He's accountable, responsible.
Right.
Better.
Yeah, because before with me, none of those things were in my repertoire. There were no rules with me. It was,
And so what does Aronofsky say?
Oh, I had heard, before Aronofsky, my agent had said, oh, Darren Aronofsky would like to meet you. And I thought, wow, who's that, And then I watched a couple of his films, and I thought, well, he was interesting. And then I made it up my point to call a few people and inquire about him. And I got the same feedback that I've heard. It reminded me of what I heard about Francis Coppola. He was very, very, very bright, very uncompromising. He was trying to be. People wanted him to come out to California and make big commercial formula movies. He resisted that. Stayed in his little thing in Brooklyn with his independent protozoa company, where he develops films and then makes movies that are different and. Movies I think that are intelligent movies that take risks and chances with integrity, and that's what interests me. So there was a meeting, and we met. We said, hey, he goes, I'm Darren Aronofsky. I'm Mickey. Hey, and but I think before he hit the chair, he went into you. Well, you ruined your career for the last 15 years. I'm trying to do a movie with you, and I can't raise any money. And
nobody wants to back a movie.
Nobody wants to back a movie you're in, and I'm thinking, well, okay, I've heard this before. And then he says, if I do this movie with you, you're going to listen to everything I say, you're going to do everything I tell you, and you're never going to disrespect me in front of the crew, and I can't pay you. And I've said this in a lot of interviews, but it went just like that. I like the fact that he got right to the point.
Right.
And I also saw I saw in his eyes how smart he is. I realized I am not going to be able to blow smoke up this guy's ass. Mm-hmm. He hates it when I say it. He's tough. And I think he hates it when I say it because he's afraid actors are going to be afraid of that. But I want someone who's tough. I want someone that's going to he knew how to push my buttons. I would do a take, and he would say, I thought it was good. And he goes, give me another one. Give him another one. I do it. Thought it was well. And then he'd walk over and he says, bring it. And I did it, be better. I thought, okay, I can get out of here now. And he goes, I want you to bring it. I said, I just did on 4. And he says, and he'd walk away. And just before the take, he'd come over and he'd go, really bring it. Mickey, really bring it. And he He knew how to push my buttons. He was like a football coach. It was like, or a boxing trainer who just says, give me one more round. Just give me, just give me. And because he fought for me to do the movie, he put his ass on the line. He put his career on his line. He put his, the financiers didn't want me to do the movie. Actually, I got replaced early on.
You got replaced?
I got replaced by a movie star, and because they could only raise a very little amount of money on me, and they could have raised 20-something million on the other actor, who was a very fine actor, and I was okay with it. Everybody else was upset. My agent was concerned, and this one and that one, and I thought, you know what? I've got to go down to Miami. I've got to work out for 7-8 months to put on anywhere from 25 to 28 pounds of muscle, and because these guys are big. I walk around at like 195, and these guys are 230. So
you keep the job though, and you go through this regimen,
right?
And you got to learn how to wrestle too. You know how to box, but you don't know how to wrestle.
First of all, we put the size on. We were eating 6-7 meals a day. I had this really strict Israeli ex-commando who didn't take any nonsense. It was like, even if I was out all night having a drink or two, chasing my tail around, in the dark, getting nowhere most of the time. And I'd walk into the gym like, well, do I have to do the cardio today?
No, yeah.
He would say something that I'm not going to repeat and get on the cardio. Because we had a photograph of Lex Luger, I think it was, who had a great body. And he sat me down one day and he goes, do you want to look like that or do you want to look like this? He says, because, hey, when they open the movies, brother, and you're up there, you want to, I go, yeah, I want to look like that. And so he broke my ass, and he was very strict. If I wasn't downstairs, he would come, he had a key, he'd come up to my room and just take me out of the room.
Yeah. You knew early on this movie had something special.
Oh, yeah. I knew it had something special, number one, because of Darren Aronofsky. Like I said, the feedback that I got on him was just remind me.
And he was getting something out of you.
He was getting something out of me because what it is with me, it's all about respect and trust. And he fought for me really hard to do this part, and I owed him. And then, a lot of directors that you meet in the business, they'll talk great shop. They'll talk what they're going to do, all the creative. Right. Then sometimes they get on the floor, and they're not what they. You think this guy was everything, and he was tough as nails, and I owed him to give me all of myself. I owed him to give me all of myself.
When you're back on set with a director that believes in you, who's pushing you, you worked your butt off to get in shape. Yes. You have to learn how to wrestle. Wrestling is not boxing. You knew boxing, but this is a very different thing to learn how to wrestle.
And I had no respect for wrestling. I thought, it's a pre-choreographed, pre-arranged outcome. I saw them as big lumbering, whatever. And then, after 3 months with Off of the Wild Samoan, it took me, because of my boxing training, I was doing everything too quick and too short. And this is more like this, and I'm feeling, oh, God.
Wide swaths of
action. And
movement.
It was like, I just thought, I can't do this. And then I got hurt. Somebody who's 245 or 250 in the gym picking you up like this and throwing you. Something's going to snap, crackle, and pop, and it did. My neck would go out, my knee would go out.
You had a bunch of MRIs while you were...
Yeah, I had 3 MRIs in 2 months.
So here you are doing this. Mm-hmm. When you're acting at your age now...
Right.
Have the acting skills been diminished? Has all the years...
Okay, I'll get into this. I just want to say one thing so I don't forget this. Darren was smart enough to surround me with the right people. He surrounded me with Alpha, the Samoan. And after me not being able to get the wrestling, haven't been an athlete, it's a whole different sport. I did something one day in the gym, and this was the turning point. And I thought, wow, it's so slow. And then Alpha says to me, son, we call him Pops, come here. Yeah. He says, that was good. He says, if it feels too slow, then you're doing it right. Now, a boxing trainer would never say that, or a football coach, and those are the sports that I know. But that was the turning point for me, that I understood that there is a certain amount of choreography, and it moves a certain way, and it is slower than regular speed. What was your question?
Skills. In other words, here you were with all the skill, all the things that they saw
Yeah.
in you early on.
Right.
And then in the 90s you go away. And there you're coming back. Have the skills changed? Are they slow? Is it like muscle that you can simply back working and they all come back? You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean really well, and it's a very good question because it wasn't it wasn't ever a question of ability. It was a question of that I had some issues, old issues that I hadn't come to terms with, and it was authority. It was authority figures. It was the fact that I couldn't be controlled or it couldn't be talked down to if I thought it was a lot of junk and garbage I had in my head that I didn't have the information about to change and fix. And you can only do that if you go to someone who's a professional that can help you.
So you got to strip away all the things that are getting in between.
I had to take
the armor.
I had to take my armor off, which I saw as my strength, and I was afraid to do that because where I come from, it was all about being a hard man, have pride and respect, and all those things, can become a weakness instead of a strength. I don't
understand the issues, though. Really don't understand what it was, these issues that caused you to feel like you had to take on this tough guy. You have to take on this people you want to hang out with. You wanted to be seen as a tough guy, an uncontrollable guy, a guy that did not respect authority. Yes?
Well, it wasn't so much respect authority. It was anything that had to do with, I felt was disrespectful, or I felt was shameful.
Esteem.
Yes, because it was stuff that I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to. I'm not going to ever be a victim. But it was issues of my childhood of shame and abandonment and feeling small and just terrible old stuff you can't fix when you're little.
You were raised by a stepfather.
Yeah, but I'm not even good. I can't go there on that one, Charlie. Right. The fact is until I found some people that could give me the information, I couldn't fix the problem because I didn't have the tools or the knowledge how to do that, and that took a decade.
But when did that come? The person who came to you,
that was about 13 years ago when my wife left me and my career was over, and I was more really messed up about the wife than I was with the career, and that sort of took over anyway, and that's another long story. That's another journey.
But I am fascinated by that. How you really, everything I've ever read about you were devastated when that relationship ended.
Devastated, sure.
I mean, you had a little bit of publicity, bad publicity too, because of an incident. But you were devastated by the fact that this woman couldn't take it anymore.
Well, no, both of us couldn't take it anymore. We were fire and ice. She was my thunder and lightning, and she comes from a very kind of, I would say, liberal kind of San Francisco kind of free spirit kind of thing, and I'm an old school dude. So is that you understand what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
As much as I've changed and worked very hard to change, there are certain things that I'm not going to change.
What haven't you changed? I mean, for all the talk about Mickey and this performance, and Mickey understands himself, and Mickey is now accountable, and Mickey, all that, what hasn't changed? Your talent hasn't changed.
Okay,
who you are hasn't changed.
Right.
Your love of dogs hasn't changed.
No. I got one of them here.
Yes.
Stay, be quiet. Loki.
Loki. Is Loki with you?
Loki had a stroke a couple of months ago, but she's okay. She's rebounded.
Let me go to the set, and we'll come back to a lot of these things, which is all interesting. But you have talked about a lot about this. I mean, you are remarkably open.
Yeah.
Or remarkably. Are you pulling off a great performance?
Yeah, that's clever of you, but I'm not that clever to pull off this kind of performance. It's I'm not that ambitious that I'm going to blow smoke up your ass, Charlie.
Right.
That's the way I am. But you also pay the price for that. But I also don't have to be that clear about it. I could be diplomatic about it now, where before I didn't care to. But the repercussions were severe, and so I understand.
But you seem to have, I mean, if you take it at face value, you have gained a remarkable insight about yourself. Now, that may have been therapy. That
a lot
may
of
have
hard
been
work. A
hard work.
lot of hard work.
Yeah. I mean,
you know?
the fact is, you're sitting at this table and you've already won a number of awards for Best Actor, and you're nominated for an Oscar. You know, and you have made the journey, and the journey, you've made it work for you. The hard work, a shot at a lifetime.
Yeah.
Is there, I know you've been asked this 1,000 times before, is the fact that Mickey had the life he had fueled this performance as Randy the Ram? Because here was a guy coming back to the arena.
Right.
And a guy who was not the same guy who he was 20 years ago.
Right.
And he wants it back. And he does it because it's what he knows and what he loves and what he is.
Right.
This is also you.
Very much so. That's why when the role was taken away from me, I was the only one who was okay with it. Because I know why Darren Aronofsky wanted me to do this part. Darren knew a lot about me. He's, like I said, he's got a very large brain, and he knew he wanted me to revisit those very dark places, and physically he knew that I could get there. And me, I thought, wow, I'm going to have to really work hard, and for no money, and I didn't know if I wanted to do that. But I think the part of my brain went, man, this guy can bring me back.
Yeah, but what was it you wanted to come back to? Being a movie star? I don't think so. Something else. You wanted respect. You wanted esteem. You wanted all the things
yes,
that were about that were part of the problem.
That I didn't have for 14 years.
Yeah. And you used to have, so you had tasted it before and you knew what it was like. You knew what it was to have people say, you're very good at what you do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And then you just piss it away for all the wrong reasons.
Well,
because you weren't.
I didn't have the tools I didn't have the tools. I'll give you a perfect example, okay? Maybe I'll put you in the position. Let's say, okay, Charlie Rose once had a job on television, great reputation, you know. I looked at your biography, okay? For something happens for whatever reasons, and you're out of work, and you're in the 7-Eleven buying a pack of cigarettes in the middle of the night, and there's 7, 8 people there in line, and you walk in, and then it's 2 in the morning, and somebody in the middle of the line goes, hey, aren't you, didn't you used to be in?
A newsman.
Right, and you're going, Christ, I just wanted to get my cigarettes and get out of here.
Yeah.
You know, it's
All
like.
right, tell me the truth. Did that happen to you?
All the time.
Did it really?
Yeah. And it was crushing.
In 7-Eleven, but 7-Eleven is just a metaphor for many times.
I recall that one time in the 7-Eleven, and that just, I remember walking for several blocks, and it crushed me. Yeah.
And so did all this crushing feed the desire
to fight in a different way?
Yeah.
Yes.
To come to grips with, this is a place I do not want to be.
Well, yes, because I learned, instead of fighting all the time like this,
yeah,
I learned to fight in a different way.
And that way was?
To understand that there are repercussions, to understand that, you know what, you may not get another chance. But the reason years ago, and people said to me, people go, well, how did you make it? You know, how did you do it? Well, I worked harder than the rest at the Actors Studio. That's how I did it.
In the beginning,
yeah,
you got there because
I worked
you
hard.
wanted it more, and you paid the price.
I ended up with a really great teacher, but I worked harder than the rest because I knew that was the only way.
But you also understood it was a hallowed place, and that you didn't want to screw it up.
No, I walk in a place that back in the day when Strasbourg, I got there at the tail end of Lee Strasberg,
right.
And I walked in. They took 4 people out of, a few thousand a year. And, man, when I got in there and I walked in the door and I saw Al Pacino and Chris Walken and De Niro and Harvey Keitel, I went, man,
hey.
one day I want to, hopefully I could be an actor like those guys. They set the bar. And before they set the bar, Brando and Monty Cliff and James Dean and all them guys set the bar. So, yeah, it was hollow ground in there for me.
All right. You have been nominated. You've won a bunch of awards. You are competing with somebody you respect enormously. And in fact, all of them, I assume, but especially Sean Penn. Sean Penn is a guy who has a performance of a lifetime, too.
Right.
And a performance you admire.
Absolutely.
How do you feel? This is a guy who believed in you and when you were not at the top. in the pledge,
Yeah.
said to you, I'm going to give you a shot.
No, he said, he said, I'm going to give you a shot. And he also said to me at one point, he goes, you got 2 or 3 years left at the most to do it. And then a few years after that, I walked up to him and I said, Sean, I got a year left. And he said, what? He said, I got a year left. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, remember when you told me I got
2 years.
I said, oh, I must have said it just to get you going. But to me, it was in my head. I was marking off days.
But how do you feel about this competition with him especially?
Well, let's put it this way, okay?
All right.
I love him like a brother, okay? And I've known him for over 20 years. And he's probably the best actor of his generation. He's definitely the best actor of his generation, right there, He is somebody that I respect because he works so hard at what he does, and he does it really, really well, and he does it smart, and he's his own man. Now, the deal is when we did this movie, it was a very small movie. We didn't have a distributor. We won an award over in Venice, and then we were in Toronto. Sean and I saw each other. He gave me a big smile. I went over to his table, and we hugged. And he says, he said to me, "Listen," he says, he told me this is what's going to be going down now. I had no clue during this whole campaign thing. And he says, "Listen, do this, do this, don't do that, don't do that." He says, "Do this, do this."
What did he tell you to do, and what did he tell you not to do?
It was more like the publicity end, but he was supporting me and giving me, and he goes, "It's your time, brother."
And so he recognized where you were too, and basically was saying that there are certain things that might not come natural to you to want to do, but
and
you
he
do
was
them
advising me to do that.
Yeah,
yes.
because he's done it before too.
Absolutely,
he's done it before his own movie. He did it for Mystic River. He's been part of the understanding that
he's been doing
these
it for
awards make a difference, and therefore.
Yeah, I think he got to see his first nomination 10 or 11 years ago. When
before I go showing some clips from this movie, where does the dog thing come from? Because I feel the same way about dogs.
Yes.
I mean, first of all, they're Chihuahuas, but you do have at least 3 or 4 Chihuahuas, right? And then
6. Well, I've got 3 or 4 Chihuahuas.
And you got 1 pug, which is
a pug.
1 black pug, based on what I read.
La Negra.
La Negra, yeah. But what do they represent? I don't want to be too much of a psychiatrist here, but
there's a reason for all of them. Yes, it's a little embarrassing, but it's like when I ended up alone. I ended up alone. I had nobody I was living with at the time. I had no career. The house was empty, and the friends that you make when you're on top, when you fall from grace, most of them aren't around. What they're doing is, I had a big house at the time, and they're carrying out as much as they can under both arms.
Yes.
and
I know.
and I'm in some kind of mad stupor, crying and miserable because I'm alone. And the dogs, they filled. It's like, this may sound, I don't know. I hope I don't make myself sound stupid, but I wasn't able to sleep in a bed for a decade. The bed was like this ocean that was it reminded me of, it was too big to sleep in a proper bed because something was missing. And I got used to sleeping on the couch, and then I had 4 dogs, and it wasn't enough, so I went out and got 2 more. And even though a couch is only from here to here, it sort of filled up something that was missing.
I hear you.
Okay. They depended on me, and it gave me I had to be responsible. I had to stay here. I had to be there for their well-being.
I'll tell you one thing about you that I do like a lot, among many things, but this is that you can tell a man often by who he chooses as his friends, or who he chooses as people that he finds a kindred spirit. And Sean is one. You wrote this remarkable letter to Bruce Springsteen, who has graced this table as you have. What did you say in that letter?
Well, first of all, after about 6 days working on the movie, I felt we had something special. This was going to be, because I knew Darren had pulled a lot of stuff out of me, and I managed to do the physical thing with my body, the transformation. So when the movie was over, I felt great about it. I thought we didn't have much money; it was a small budget, and I wanted to help make the movie as best as it could be. So I thought, wow, we shot several scenes in Jersey and New Jersey, and I thought maybe Bruce would, because he's from, So I wrote him this letter because during my sort of lost years, as you call them, or I'll call them.
You call them.
I didn't even talk to Bruce. I didn't talk to Sean much for 12 or 13 years, or Bruce. And
Bruce was a friend.
Yeah, sure. When I met him, Sean introduced me to him, 20-something years ago, and I think Sean, so I'd written them, but we had met a year earlier or something, and it was a nice meeting after all the time I didn't see him. I'd met him in Mr. Chow's, and he was sitting with Steven Spielberg, and he actually said, "Mickey, man." I thought, "Oh, okay, hey," even though I haven't seen you for many years, and so then I wrote him this letter, and I said, "Look." This is before I sent him the script, and listen, man. I was on this crazy journey, and I didn't know how to get. I've been working real hard to change, and I've lost this, and now I've got this back, and I used to handle myself this way because it made me feel hard instead of shameful, and these change came hard, and I didn't know how to, and now and this character of the movie that I just made, he doesn't have accessibility to talk to somebody. He doesn't have someone who can give him information. And I'm so happy I'm not him because he can't change. And
you have access to change.
And I had access to change. And that was the difference.
And
Bruce, he was away on a tour. He also, I was very questioning writing the letter because I know that Bruce didn't have an easy year. He lost Terry, who was with him for 30 years, and he lost the keyboard player.
Right.
And he was on a European tour. So if he had time to write me back a letter, fine. And he called me back. He told me that he was going to do this European tour. That he'd read it when he could. Now, some months had passed, and several or whatever, and. I was in Miami, and I got a phone call in the middle of the night driving down Collins Avenue near the Fountain Blue. I know exactly where I was.
Yeah.
And I says, hey, Mickey, it's Bruce. And I'm, Bruce who? And I said, whoa, hey, Bruce.
Right.
And he told me, he said, listen, I wrote you a little something.
Did he say, listen
like
to
it.
this?
No, he said, I wrote you a little something. I hope you like it. I'll send it to, said, fine. Make a long story short, I didn't quite hear it yet, but he was coming back to play in New Jersey in Giant Stadium, and I took Darren Aronofsky, the director, to go see him, who never knew about him. He couldn't believe the Giant Stadium was filled with 80,000 people, and then I took him backstage afterwards, and I introduced Darren to the boss, and then I wanted them to talk a little bit, and then. I said, Bruce, I'm going to go in the other room. Would you talk with Darren for a minute? He said, sure. I went to this other room, and next thing I heard they were talking for a while, and all of a sudden I heard some guitar playing, and Bruce had picked up this, I guess it's an acoustic guitar, and he sang the song. Yeah. And I remember going, wow. My legs were actually shaking. I'm going, man, because it was such an honor for Bruce.
And it's over the credits of the film.
And he didn't, we didn't have the money to pay for a Bruce Springsteen song on a $5 million budget.
Yeah. All right, take a look at this. There's so much more to talk about, too, but let's just see some performance here. Roll clip, first clip. About gigging.
Gigging is what Darren. Okay, when the first day that I met Darren, When he had that conversation, he was doing all this stuff to me.
Right. You can do this, and you can do this.
Yeah, and you can never do it. He says, and I'm going to want you to gig. And I didn't know what gigging was. I said, what? He says, you're going to gig for me. And he started telling me about the thing that some of the old school wrestlers do, where they hide a little piece of razor blade and they cut themselves. Usually it's up here, and you could. And
they want it to bleed on their face.
Yeah, and I thought
because it looks more.
Yeah, and they go like that, and it comes out pretty good, and just quick little couple things up here, and I got. To be honest with you, I was pissed when he said that to me.
Because?
It was a control thing, and Darren's very bright. It was like, here,
you'll do this for me because I'm in control here.
Yeah, and you're going to gig.
That's the deal we made.
And you're going to gig for me, and you're not going back to Miami over Christmas. You're going to stay, and you're going to go to wrestling practice. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not getting paid, and this is telling me this. Now he's telling me he wants me to gig. So all of a sudden, that little old Mickey come up with this authority thing, and I'm looking at him, and I was for a little while there. The jury was out, especially when he said the gigging thing, and then, but there was also the part of me that's going, this guy wants to go all the way, and I like that. And I thought, well, you know what? If when we get on the floor, and he's made out of the right stuff, I'll cut my arm off for this dude.
Right. So you did it.
Well, as day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, by day 6, I respected him, I trusted him, and I hated him, and I loved him. And so when the day came that he wanted me to gig, he actually came over to me and he said, because in the dressing room I was getting all ready, I broke all the razor blades myself, put them in my wrist and in my wrap, and he came up to me and he says, look, you don't really have to gig. He says, we can ply it on, and what I said to him, I can't repeat. And plus then I said, I'm gigging,
Words have not failed you in all these acceptances you have done.
Well, I'm trying very hard. I've got the hardest working.
They've been bleeping you all over the place.
Yeah, well, I have the hardest working publicist on the planet. I want to do all I can for this little Irish girl, Paula.
Paula, who's been with you for how many years?
Paula Woods has been with me
since the 90s.
Just since this movie.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I thought she was.
Oh no, she worked with Harvey Weinstein for a while, and I thought
see.
She works with someone so hard as Harvey, then I'd be a walk in the park.
Yes, that's true. All right, another clip. This I want to bring this out because here you see Marisa Tomei, who gives a extraordinary
in a tough role.
Yeah. Roll tape.
I'm here. I'm really here. What do you call that?
Hey, you hear them? This is Rebel. I got them.
No, Brandy.
Axl Rose gave us.
Is
I
that
called
right?
Axl. He gave us because when I used to box, I used to come out to that song, and it just got me in the right. And he gave us. He stepped up to the plate also. Yeah. We couldn't afford it, Sweet Child of Mine.
How much of this do you think is somehow a bunch of people rooting for you?
Well, you know what it was? It was a bunch of people that I've met over the years, and okay. To be honest with you, as Darren said to Bruce, why did you do this for us? And he said, I did it for Mickey so he can get back to where he should be.
Where he should be.
Yeah.
Whether you win this one last thing or not, you're back, aren't you? Do you feel like, or do you have to? Tell me how the Oscar fits into the whole thing of this journey we've been talking about.
I certainly will. I was told one time by a director several years ago, he said, well, you're going to work again, but you'll never be a movie star. And I had some private thoughts about that. And I thought, well, yeah, maybe he's true. Maybe the dance is over for me.
Yeah,
because I burn a lot of bridges. But then the other hand is there's no quitting me. And somebody said to me, well, how did you get there in the door? I worked harder than the rest, you know.
You said something interesting along that line in which there things have come up in terms of what all these issues are. Right. Nobody really quite knows, and there have been some stories in having to do with relationships with stuff and all that kind of stuff, and that's for you to decide whether you in this or anywhere else you talk about it. And I'm serious. I there are issues there, and they have to do with some of the things you talk about. Yes. But here's something you said that I really identify with. You said, let me just say one thing to you. And this is talking about whether there are issues or not. Right. Let me just say one thing to you. I studied and struggled and persevered and concentrated and focused like a frigging monk. Yes. Frigging was not the word you used. To be the actor that I am, and then I threw it all away. You don't do that unless you've got issues, and those issues are real, and there's no gray there. They're all black and white. Right.
You're going to make me smoke, Charlie.
No, not yet. Don't do it yet. You've only got a couple more minutes. I got in trouble with Sean.
I saw
That's
him.
Enough. That's enough.
I saw him looking to where to put it out.
I know.
Okay, go ahead.
That's enough. Don't do it.
I ain't going to get you in trouble.
No, don't.
Okay,
I'm going to get in trouble. Clearly, you were on the precipice. I mean, you've done it. You've been awarded. You're back as an actor. Where else do you need to go?
When you're out as long as I've been out, you don't really feel like you're back. I know. I feel this all feels good, but man, I could mess it up like that.
It's that fragile.
I got a little man inside of me with two axes like this. Yeah. It's like, you know, guys that have drinking problems or drug problems, you know, it's the same kind of thing. I got to take it not even a day at a time. I got to take it like almost an hour at a time. But one thing I do know is I'm not going to do that. But then again, because of what I have inside of me, I've got to pray to God, and I've got to talk to my guy that I talk to, and I got to just keep moving forward. And I don't want to go back there. It was hell.
What is it you most want? Where do you most want to be?
I want to be where do I want to be? The Academy Award thing, to answer your question so I can do that, is like, if I that would be wonderful. I would love to have that. If Sean gets it, you know what I'll say? I'll stand up and clap for him because I love him. And I'll say, you know what? I'll come get me one next year or the year after, because you know, I've learned to fight in a different way. I'm going to bring the same work ethic to the next film that I do, and the next one after that. You know, I'm going to be in shape, so bring it on. I love competition. I want to bring myself to the next level. I would strive to just want to have peace of mind, and to not make the foolish mistakes that I made the first time around, whether it be spending all my money as fast as I get it, or
losing at love and all that.
Yeah, well, I'm not chasing that right now. You know? Okay.
It's great to have you here.
It's great to be here.
Good luck to you.
Okay.
This is, as I said, Sean Penn's a great friend of mine, and so is others who've come here and said, but this is a remarkable story. And what it says to everybody, I think, and this is what really is that you're responsible for your own life.
Well, I always just like to say, you're in a hopeless situation, but as long as you have hope, you can
change.
You can breathe and keep moving forward.
Mickey Rourke, the film is The Wrestler. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.